Welcome to Speak, Think, Serve, the blueprint for growth without burnout. Sharpen your words, strengthen your mind, and serve with intention.
Let me take you back to the third grade. Picture this, a bunch of us on the playground, huddled in a circle, playing telephone. You know, where you whisper a message to the next person, and by the end, it's totally mangled. Well, I started with, the principal is bringing pizza for lunch. By the time it got to the last kid, it was, the principal is eating pizza with a bunch of ducks. And we all lost it. But here's the thing. I still remember that story, but I have no clue what we learned in math that day. Stories just stick, because they create emotion. And emotion is what people remember, especially when you're trying to lead, teach, or leave a lasting impression.
That's so true. I mean, I can't remember half the facts from my college lectures, but I remember the story my old boss told about the time he accidentally locked himself in the supply closet. It's like our brains are wired to hold on to stories, not bullet points. And well, there's actual science behind that, right?
Yeah, totally. There's this thing called neural coupling. When you tell a story, the listener's brain actually mirrors yours. It's like a little brain handshake. Yuri Hassan at Princeton did research on this. And when you just share facts, you only light up the language centers. But with stories, you get the sensory, motor, and emotional parts firing too. It's like a full brain workout.
And it's not just about memory. Like you said, stories trigger emotion. Paul Zak talks about how a good story releases oxytocin and cortisol, so you're paying attention, you care, and you remember. That's why a 10-second story can teach more than a 10-minute lecture. I mean, I'm not saying facts don't matter, but they fade. Stories get shared.
Exactly, and it's not just a modern thing. Before we had spreadsheets or even writing, we had cave paintings, literal storyboards for survival. Our ancestors passed down warnings, wisdom, rituals, all through stories. It's how we learned not to eat the red berries or why you don't wander off after dark. We're pattern-seeking creatures, and stories are the ultimate pattern.
So if we're wired for narrative, how and why do we use that at work? Like, how do you take this ancient brain wiring and use it to teach, coach, or lead a team? I mean, it's one thing to tell a story around a campfire, but another to use it in a safety briefing or a sales pitch.
Well, that's the thing. Stories aren't just for campfires or TED Talks. They're for the warehouse, the job site, the Monday morning meeting. When you share a story about a near miss on the field, or a client win, or even a mistake you made, people remember. It's how you build trust, teach lessons, and actually get people to care. And honestly, it's way more fun than just rattling off numbers.
Yeah, and it's not about being flashy. It's about making things real. Like, here's what happened last time we skipped a step. That's way more effective than always follow the checklist. It's the difference between compliance and buy-in. All right, so let's get practical. If you're not a natural storyteller, there are frameworks that make this easier. My favorite is the ABT, and, but, therefore. It's like, we always try to get projects done on time, and we pride ourselves on quality, but this one almost failed. Therefore, we changed our kickoff meeting format. Simple, tight, and it works for updates, proposals, even emails.
I love that one. And for job site or field talk, there's the 5C structure: context, character, conflict, climax, change. So like last Friday,
Context.
our lead tech Sam
Character.
skipped the safety check.
Conflict.
The machine jammed and we lost an hour.
Climax.
Now Sam's the first to double check every time.
Change.
You got it, Miles, all 5.
Yeah, love that. It's quick, but it hits all the beats. And then there's the story spine. Pixar uses this for their movies, but it works for work too. It goes, once upon a time, every day, until one day, because of that, until finally, and ever since then. Want to try it out, Imani?
All right, let's do a role play. Let's say we're giving a team update that's usually, well, boring. I'll go first with the usual way. Team, last week we completed the project on time. There were a few issues, but we resolved them. Let's keep up the good work.
Okay, now let's story spine it. There was a time not long ago when our team always finished projects just under the wire. Every day we'd scramble at the last minute, until one day we missed a deadline and lost a client. Because of that, we started doing daily check-ins, until finally we finished early and got a thank you note from the client, and ever since then we've made check-ins part of our routine.
See, that's way more memorable. It's got a beginning, a problem, a turning point, and a lesson. And you don't have to be a Pixar writer to use it. Even a quick story about a checklist or a client call can land so much harder than just, here's the update.
I'll give you a real consulting example. I once worked with a client who had a safety issue. People kept skipping their safety glasses. I could have shown them a bunch of stats, but instead, I told a 5-minute story about a guy who laughed off the glasses, then ended up in the ER with metal in his eye. After that, no one forgot their glasses. That story changed more than a month of PowerPoints ever could.
That's the magic. Stories teach, but they also stick. And you can use these frameworks, ABT, 5C, Story Spine, no matter your role. You don't need a stage, you just need a moment and a message. So let's talk tactics. How do you actually use stories at work? Sales teams use client success stories like, "This lighting system made their porch feel like a resort." Field teams use cautionary tales. "Here's what happened last time we skipped a step." Leaders use vision stories. Think Jeff Bezos making execs write narrative memos, or Satya Nadella sharing personal stories to explain Microsoft's culture shift.
And you don't have to overthink it. Try prompts like, "Here's what happened last time," or "If your job had a headline, what would it be?" Those open the door for stories that teach, coach, or just get people talking. I'll do a quick role play, peer-to-peer. When I started, I always rushed the mulch edges. One day a client said, "This looks lazy." That stuck with me. Now I edge it like it's my own yard. That's a story that builds buy-in without shaming.
Or in sales, we did a similar patio in Mont Lebanon. The couple wanted lighting for their grandkids' safety. After we added it, they texted us a photo. Everyone was outside, no one tripped, and they loved it. That's reassurance through story, not just stats.
And for leadership, it's about trust. At my last job, we had 2 crews. One always started with a 5-minute huddle. The other didn't. The huddle crew hit 92% of their goals. It taught me that small routines create big wins. That's a short movie, not a lecture.
I'll share one from my first executive workshop. I was nervous, honestly. I told a story about my own self-doubt, how I almost didn't apply for a job because I thought I wasn't ready. That cracked something open in the room. Suddenly, people were sharing their own stories, and trust just happened. You don't need a TED Talk. You just need to be real.
So here's the challenge for everyone listening. Don't just collect stories, use them. Next time you're in a meeting, try a "Here's what happened last time," or ask your team, "If your story had a headline, what would it be?" It's not about being a performer. It's about making your words matter.
And don't forget, action is what makes this stick. Try out one of these story frameworks this week. Share a quick story in your next team huddle. Practice. Use the storytelling tools in the additional resources. We created one for 5C and one for ABT. They make it easy for you to build your storytelling confidence fast. People will notice the change.
Yeah, do the reps. Practice telling stories even if they're rough. That's how you build the muscle. And contribute to the community. Share your wins, your "don't do what I did" stories, or even just a headline for your week. That's how we all get better, together.
All right, that's a wrap for today. Keep doing the reps and tell the story that teaches. Whether you're leading a team, pitching a client, or just trying to get better, the stories you share become the standard you shape.
And to everyone listening, go out, make your meetings unforgettable, and let us know what stories you're telling. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Speak, Think, Serve, the blueprint for growth without burnout. Remember, ideas don't change things. Action does.